The Justice League vs. Kaiju. Superman floats at Godzilla's eye level to try and talk some sense into the giant monster. But Godzilla either doesn't care or can't understand what he's saying. The nuclear kaiju looks mad and even starts to rumble. This makes Superman suspect he's the actual target of the attack. Then, Godzilla's eyes and mouth light up, as well as his spiky back as he prepares to launch an attack at Superman. Thunk! Superman punches Godzilla's jaw to stop the charge up, and the lizard monster is thrown backward with the impact. Next, Superman keeps talking to the monster, letting it know he'll be getting it back to the sea and away from all the people. But instead, Superman's hit by Godzilla with a wham and sent flying before he can grab the tail. The blow's so strong that Superman smashes through 3 skyscrapers before he can stop. Despite still picking himself up, Superman wants to make sure everyone is fine. Considering where the glass is, he seems to have slid right in between the cubicles. One man speaks up, holding his head and pointing at the machinery Superman landed on. He's mainly worried about the damaged copier and how much it would be to replace it. Superman mentions there's insurance for this sort of stuff. Obviously, he means accidental superhero destruction. From off-screen, a voice chimes in with, "We definitely do." And it's Flash running in to let Superman know that the rest of the team is on the way. He also makes sure to point out how big Godzilla is before Superman flies back to it. Flash turns to the people in the office, helping them to evacuate, but also reminding to take only what's essential. Flying over the sea, more superheroes make their way to the threat. Supergirl, Hawkgirl, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern can fly on their own, but Lantern has Green Arrow, Oliver, inside a small car he created from the power ring. As expected, Oliver complains that the vehicle is snug, so Hal reminds him that beggars can't be choosers. That aside, Lantern thinks they should be looking for the monster instead of helping Superman. But Wonder Woman explains that Cyborg insisted it's very urgent. Supergirl specifies that Cyborg said the problem was big, and that's when Cyborg interrupts to give them an update. As it happens, it's not just one problem. 3 more big problems have appeared at the same time. There's a massive spider in Central City, a giant bat flying over Gotham, and a monstrous mammoth approaching Themyscira. And, of course, Godzilla is in Metropolis. With that reveal, Superman realizes they'll have to divide and conquer. Cyborg also put out calls for more help from other heroes like auxiliary leaguers. Superman agrees with that call, flying back to Godzilla. As Batman leaves with his aircraft, Cyborg fills him in on everyone's movements. Hawkgirl's headed to Metropolis to help Superman. The Flash, Green Lantern, and Supergirl are on their way to Central City, and Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, and Wonder Girl make their way to Themyscira. Batman thanks Cyborg for the information and lets him know he's got Gotham City covered, along with some help. Robin, who's sitting next to Batman, asks, "What is that ugly bat thing?" Surprisingly, Batman thinks it seems like a Mayan creature of legend called the Kamazots. That doesn't help explain where it came from or why though. Batman contacts Alfred to get Cyborg to provide real-time data on the creature. The rest of the team includes Batgirl, Red Hood, Nightwing, and Batman, with the first 3 at ground level. Cyborg is on his way too, flying towards the bat signal. Black Canary's also heading to Gotham, but a bit slower since she's on a motorcycle. Green Lantern volunteered to go with Wonder Woman to Themyscira, but now he's just flying by her holding his arm. He can't help but think it's worse than the sidecar. She makes a joke about her infamous invisible jet and how he'd prefer that. He starts to agree before he notices an island that shouldn't be there. Wonder Woman agrees that it's suspicious. As Wonder Woman brings them closer to the island, Green Arrow says it seems ominous and wonders if it has to do with the giant monsters that showed up. When they land, she tells Green Arrow it might be worth investigating. He teases her, wondering if she can handle Themyscira without him. Diana points out that Cassie, aka Wonder Girl, will be meeting her there. Rather, she's worried about him since she doesn't know when she can come back for him. As they look on at expansive waterfalls, Green Arrow reminds her that he has experience with deserted islands. We jump to a different location, featuring a mountain hideout surrounded by snow and ice. Inside, two people discuss the titanic monsters that showed up. In front of high-tech screens, Black Manta asks the cheetah if everyone is accounted for. She confirms that Captain Cold and Grodd are on the way to them, but Lex Luthor is still missing. Black Manta knows that Toyman has gone missing as well, while Giganta was wished to Metropolis. Cheetah's confused by the term, so Manta explains that the stone Toyman took from Superman's fortress is called the Dream Stone. It can change reality according to someone's wishes. Cheetah looks at an image of Toyman and the stone, wondering if it's the reason monsters have shown up suddenly. At LexCorp in Metropolis, Luthor suddenly arrives inside his building. He looks dazed, seated but looking at the ceiling while he asks, "Here." Behind him, Mercy waits for his answer. Luthor realizes Toyman sent him there, but he doesn't know what's happening right now. Godzilla's clearly visible outside the window, stomping around, with Superman flying near him as a distraction. Mercy tells Luthor there's been a full-scale evacuation put in place because of Superman's fights, and the other monsters are in Central City and Gotham. He tells her they need to get to the bunker, but also demands a full download about what's going on. Meanwhile, Superman taunts Godzilla with his arms spread out wide, saying to come and get me. It has the intended effect when the monster turns to him with a glare, bellows out a cry to the skies. That distraction allows Hawkgirl to whack him at the back of his head. She's surprised by how little it did, considering it was her A-swing. Superman points out that Godzilla has a hard head too, since he won't move away from the city. From further away from the conflict, Lois Lane's in a restaurant, watching with awe as Godzilla charges for Superman. The backdrop of lights coming from the moon makes Godzilla's giant size even more evident. Jimmy Olsen asks if she's coming because they need to evacuate like everyone else. When she looks over, he makes it clearer by saying, "We've really gotta go." Lane can't look away, even as Olsen grabs her arm to drag her along. She's worried about the scale of the threats and probably the person facing it. Olsen encourages her to believe in Superman and his strength as they flee. Back in Gotham, Kate, aka Batwoman, says she's about to engage the flying monster, and Batman's in a Batwing right behind her. The giant bat looks even more terrifying from it nearly blocking the bat signal from view. Kate's shocked by how wide the monster's wingspan is. 400 feet! The Kamazotz nearly bites Batwoman's jet as she passes, so Batman locks on with missiles. They can't tell yet how tough its hide is. Kamazotz is hit and covered in the flames from the explosion. Closer to the ground, Nightwing and Batgirl watch the giant beast tanking more airstrikes like it's nothing. Boom! When the aircrafts get closer, eye to eye with the Bat monster, it lets off a high-pitched screech. Scream! They dodge the blast, but that causes the buildings behind them to be damaged instead. Batman bemoans the fact that it has a sonic weapon, with Batman appreciating the new information. They just have to lure it away from the city now. Batman tells the ground team to take care of evacuating people while he and Batwoman deal with the monster in the air. With Batgirl's help, Nightwing swings to some people fleeing from the falling debris. Nightwing smashes through bigger pieces, and Batgirl grabs a lady in her arm before she can get crushed. Inside her aircraft, Batwoman carefully watches the monster, knowing they need to find its weakness since conventional weapons won't work. Already aiming with a scoped weapon, Red Hood suggests they shoot it through one of its ugly eyes, preparing to do so without waiting for agreement. Batman tells Jason not to because they're scanning the thing, and that would put the people in more danger. Its attention needs to be on Batman and Batwoman in the sky. Red Hood says he won't be bossed around since he's not one of Batman's birds. So he insists on taking the shots, even with Batgirl and Nightwing telling him to stop. Red Hood's sure it'll be fine, so long as he doesn't miss. Cyborg's rushing there, but Red Hood won't wait anymore. "Nighty-night, monster," he says, and pulls the trigger. Red Hood indeed hits it directly in the eye. The monster lets out a reverberating cry, "Gree!" and blood splatters from the ground. The pain makes it more aggressive, seeking out the source of the attack, just like Batman predicted. Another sonic attack is blasted out, but this time straight at Red Hood. He jumps away from the explosion, with only Nightwing and Batgirl available to save everyone below. Batgirl is frantic, but Nightwing calmly tells her they'll just have to save as many as they can. Scream! A loud scream is unleashed at the falling rocks into pebbles, with Nightwing and Batgirl shielding the people. The light makes it hard to tell what's causing it. Black Canary, still seated on her bike, asks if everyone's okay. Batgirl smiles with relief and happy with her timing. Nightwing thanks her too, while scratching his head. Afterwards, they turn to Red Hood, who won't look them in the eyes. But when they confront him about his freelancing, he just argues that Nightwing's acting like Batman. Nightwing warns Red Hood not to push him, but Batgirl gets to him first. Thunk! She knocks him down with one punch. Black Canary grins in the background. Moments later, Cyborg arrives, wondering what he missed. Batman interrupts them to check if their spat is finished. Nightwing explains that Red Hood's finished, with Batgirl adding that it needed to be done. Batman tells them he'll keep the monster busy, while Batwoman connects with Cyborg and Black Canary. They understand now that Camazot's sonic powers is likely its weakness. Cyborg brings Canary with him into the air, intending to find the exact sonic frequency used by the monster so they can take it down. Batman guesses that means they need to make it scream again, willing to be used as bait. Cyborg only needs a couple of minutes to get the reading on it anyway. Batwoman and Cyborg waste no time modifying Kate's jet. They start working on the engine thruster to create a sonic amplifier for Canary to enhance her cry. As Batman flies towards the gigantic monster, it's pretty obvious how irritated it is, now that it's down an eye. Canary and Cyborg hold on to Kate's Batwing as they get closer to Camazot's. Batman narrowly passes through the monster's taloned foot, preparing to attack. He launches 2 missiles at Camazot's on its damage side, so it's harder to avoid. As they blow up, Batman tells the team to get ready for the incoming sonic frequency. As expected, Camazot's blasts Batman's plane in retaliation. It destroys his aircraft, but Batman jumps out and glides away from danger. As he floats down with a bat-shaped parachute, he asks them if they got what they needed. Fiery debris falls to the ground around him. Cyborg confirms it's been received and starts to prep their amplifier with the acquired data. Black Canary, standing on top of Batwoman's jet, says, "Plug your ears." Canary's already monstrous sonic cry is made even more powerful through the amplifier and easily drowns out the monster's own screeching attack. Knocked out by the attack, Nightwing and Batgirl watch as Camazot's falls from the air, its wings hanging limp. It crashes to the ground. If not dead, then fully unconscious and out of commission. Boom! Batman walks away from it proudly, glad their plan worked and the threat is gone. For now. Back in Metropolis, Superman and Hawkgirl take turns whacking Godzilla on opposite sides of the head. Supes tells her not to stop attacking, considering they have the speed and agility advantage. Godzilla turns to look at them right in the eyes with its arms up. Hawkgirl sees this as them just annoying him. Superman thinks it's fine so long as they can give as many people as they can time to escape. Hawkgirl agrees, but also wonders what their next step will be since they need a real plan eventually. Godzilla cries out as if understanding them, approaching the two with a roar. Superman balls up his fists, ready to settle for getting Godzilla away from the most densely populated areas. Hawkgirl wonders if they could try to tire him out, readying her mace. Godzilla reaches out, striking her with his giant clawed hand. It cuts her sentence and plan short, knocking her back so fast she has no time to avoid the attack. Thankfully, a blur of red is there to catch her, and it comes in the form of Shazam. Superman's relieved when he says, "Glad to see you." Because of that, Shazam guesses that they've been having trouble with the lizard monster. He places Hawkgirl down safely on a nearby building. Superman explains that it's too early to tell, so he uppercuts Godzilla with a deafening crack. After, Supes tells Shazam to be careful, since the monster's faster than expected considering his size, something Superman realized when Hawkgirl got hit. When Superman's about to throw a punch, Godzilla starts to glow with power. Shazam points out, that doesn't look good. In response, Superman charges up his heat ray eyes, telling Shazam to get back when he lets it loose at the same time as Godzilla. Shazam's shocked to see they're holding each other back equally, somehow at a standstill. While they continue to blast each other, Godzilla's beam starts to push the Man of Steel back. Shazam considers what he can do to help give Superman the upper hand, knowing he doesn't have any ray to shoot himself. Shazam gets a sudden idea. Grinning, he floats up above Godzilla, but Superman notices and tells him not to do what he's planning. Ignoring the advice, Shazam lands on Godzilla's head and shouts, "Shazam!" The lightning that's unleashed, Kathoom! From Shazam turning back into his original Billy Batson form forces Godzilla to stop his atomic breath. The kid stays there, smoking. Crunch! The infamous kaiju knocks Billy off of its head, with Billy free-falling without his Shazam powers. And Superman has to rush in to catch the kid before he hits the ground. Even after that, Billy thinks what he just did was awesome. But Superman adamantly disagrees because it was too risky. Suddenly, Godzilla must be back to form because the look on Superman's face is panicked as he orders Billy to turn back now. But before the worried kid can finish saying the word, the atomic breath's coming towards them in a massive beam of light and power. With no time to escape, Superman covers Billy with as much of his body as he can. Even with his bulletproof, fireproof body, Superman can't help but scream in pain. With his arms wrapped around Billy and the blast all around them, blinding to the eyes, Billy can do nothing but curl into a ball. As Godzilla's atomic beam continues, Superman begins to fall, still holding Billy so he won't get hurt. Then finally touch the ground, and his cape is ragged and filled with holes. Trying to prevent Billy from being injured, Superman lands on his back with a sickening crunch. Billy lands on top of him. Triumphantly, Godzilla bellows in front of the moonlight, continuing his stomp through Metropolis. On the ground, Billy can't believe his eyes, looking down at a smoking Superman, thoroughly burnt and unconscious. The kid tries to shake him and call his name, but there's no response. Superman? Superman is no stranger to death. Check out what happened when his wife took up the mantle.